Jay, speak up. We're forever on the beach.
We're in the order of everything.
Okay.
I'm Steve Sheldon. I'm the sheriff of Richland County. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Richland County Sheriff's Office for this news conference. We've had a great partnership with our local and state and federal partners. It's been a great day in Mansfield, Richland County, Ohio, and it's just been wonderful. And these kind of operations that make it all worthwhile and protect the citizens of this county. I'd like to introduce the FBI SAC, Eric Smith. If we could, all these gentlemen are going to speak, and then we'll take questions after everybody's done speaking. Eric?
Thank you, Sheriff. I am Eric Smith. I'm the Special Agent in charge of the FBI's Cleveland office. It's a pleasure to be with you all this morning, and thank you all for coming. At approximately 6 a.m. this morning, more than 200 law enforcement officers from state, federal, and local agencies went across Mansfield, surrounding cities, and in Detroit, Michigan to arrest members of two separate drug trafficking organizations that have plagued this city for years. As of right now, we have 43 of 79 individuals that were indicted in custody. We will be providing names of the individuals that remain outstanding to the media and to the public, first in hopes that they turn themselves in, and second, to enlist the community's help in identifying and safely locating these individuals and bring them to justice. We will be providing those names shortly, and we'll be providing information for you all to help safely identify them and locate them, as we said. And those numbers, we would ask you to call first your local law enforcement agencies and the FBI at 216-512-1400. We'd like to thank the mayor of Mansfield for his support to this morning's operation. And of course, we'd like to thank the brave men and women of law enforcement that successfully conducted those operations this morning. We have often said that it takes a network to defeat a network. And this morning, with the cooperation of Metrich, with Mansfield Police Department, with Richland County, with Ohio State Highway Patrol, with the DEA, and the U.S. Marshal Service, we think that that statement remains absolutely true. I will be followed by Justin Herdman, the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Ohio, to talk about the charges. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Good morning, everyone. I am Justin Herdman, the United States Attorney for the Northern District of Ohio. I'll be speaking briefly about the charges and the indictments in this case. Today's operation was focused on two separate drug conspiracies, and they were different players, and to some extent they were focused on dealing different products and substances. But what they had in common is that both of these groups brought deadly and dangerous drugs into Mansfield and sold them for profit, leaving behind broken families and communities in their wake. And the first indictment charges 23 people with conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute fentanyl, heroin, oxycodone, and marijuana, among other charges. The members of that conspiracy were led by a person named Noel Mott, and they allegedly bought heroin, fentanyl, oxycodone, and marijuana from suppliers in Detroit and in Mansfield, which they then resold here in Mansfield. This took place between 2016 and it continued through the present. As detailed in the indictment and the press release, Mott and others would travel to Detroit, where they would obtain large amounts of oxycodone, which then they sold in Mansfield. Mott also would obtain large quantities of heroin and fentanyl from other indicted co-conspirators, including Dowdell, Troop, and others you'll see in the indictment. And then those drugs were in turn sold again here in Mansfield. And as we so often see in these cases, that when we're talking about large amounts of drugs and large amounts of cash, we always are finding guns. And that's indeed what we have here as well. Mott is also charged with possessing firearms in furtherance of drug trafficking and being a felon in possession of a firearm. He had 3 firearms and ammunition, despite a previous conviction for distribution of crack cocaine. So the other federal indictment, the second indictment, charges 20 people with conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute heroin, crack cocaine, and methamphetamine. There were other charges in that indictment as well. And this group was led by a person named Juan Westbury, and they allegedly obtained heroin, crack cocaine, powder cocaine and methamphetamine to sell to other dealers here in the Mansfield area, who then in turn would sell it to their customers. The members of this conspiracy allegedly operated drug houses on Rembrandt Street, on Helen Avenue, Dunbilt Court, Bauman Street, and West 3rd Street in Mansfield, as well as Eckstein Road and Crestline. And in those residences, they would store and sell the drugs involved in this conspiracy. So we have 43 people who've been indicted in federal court, and Prosecutor Gary Bishop has indicted another 36 in state court, and he'll speak in just a moment here. As you've heard already, these types of investigations and cases, they require a massive amount of work. They require an incredible amount of collaboration and coordination between all the groups that you see up here. And there's also people that you don't see up here who've been involved in this. And takedowns like this, they're not going to automatically fix the problems that we have in our community. They're not going to fix the drug problem in Mansfield. They're not going to fix the drug problem in Ohio or United States at large. But what they do is they offer an opportunity for our community. It's an opportunity for all of us to hold accountable the people who have sold these drugs on our streets, who have profited from this drug epidemic. It's an opportunity for the people in these communities where these defendants have been selling drugs to reclaim their neighborhoods. It's also an opportunity for the people who've been using drugs to take an opportunity to look in the mirror and maybe realize that now is the time to get some help and seek treatment. These indictments are not the end, rather they are the beginning. These cases will work their way through court, and we will do our best to hold the defendants accountable. And we stand here with our partners and law enforcement in the community ready to help in whatever way we can. And we are going back to work today, and we will be back tomorrow. Thank you very much. I'd now like to introduce Gary Bishop, our Richland County prosecutor. Gary?
Thank you, Judge. Good morning. As Mr. Herdeman just said, this obviously was an operation that required a lot of pre-planning and a lot of pre-coordination. And I certainly would like to thank our area law enforcement, both at the state as well as the federal level. I'd also like, however, to thank Mr. Herdeman's office. A lot of work goes into preparing these cases, reviewing them and getting them presented and getting them indicted. And in this case, we had to do that in a coordinated fashion. My office as well, I'd like to commend my office, and by that I mean my assistant prosecuting attorneys and my staff, for the hard work and dedication they did. They worked long hours, and this was in addition to their regular caseload, to get these cases reviewed and get them ready to present to the grand jury and get the indictments in time to execute upon those today, as you've seen. So this has been a very rewarding experience for our office as well, and law enforcement, and working with the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I'd just like to say those people behind the scenes in my office take a great deal of pride in the fact that they were able to pull these cases together and get them ready to present. So I'd like them to be recognized as well. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Mayor Tim Thaker, the Mayor of Mansfield.
Thank you, Gary. It's always an education to go out, and I dressed for the occasion today because I was honored to be able to go out with the individuals to see how professional and the collaboration of everybody to work together with the city police, Metrich, FBI, the DEA, everybody in this community worked together to try and get ahead of the drug game. And I really am thankful to everybody that you guys have participated. I have seen now all of the work that goes into this, and it's not a very simple process. It is an extremely extensive amount of work that everybody puts in, and I am extremely beneficial for the city of Mansfield, and we are very thankful for everybody, and thank you very much. And now I'd like to introduce the Chief of Police, Chief Ken Coons.
Hi, thanks for coming again today. You know, we made a commitment to this community to try to impact the availability of drugs and weapons within our community. Over the last 2 years, along with our collaboration with our federal partners, again, the FBI, the DEA, especially the U.S. Marshal's Office, our local law enforcement, as well as our drug task force. Metrich Drug Task Force covers 10 counties. I will tell you that all of these partners have come together, especially with guidance from the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Richland County Prosecutor's Office, to make all of these series of sweeps that we've done over the last 2 years very successful. We, as a group, have been able to collaborate, and I believe over the last 24 months we've taken down 5 separate drug trafficking organizations just here in Richland County. It's been absolutely amazing. The community has been so supportive and amazing. A lot of these drug trafficking organizations get taken down by simple tips from the community members. So we value our community. We value the members in our community. We are tasked with making our community safer, and I feel like the individual officers that have been working these sweeps have taken that to heart, and they have made that commitment to make this community better. So again, we as a local police department, we are extremely grateful with all the support that we've gotten. I can tell you that in my 25-year career here in Mansfield, our relationship with the federal agencies, especially with the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office, is the best it has ever been during my career. And when communities are able to come together and agencies are able to collaborate, this is what you get. This is absolutely amazing to see these individuals be able to be brought to justice. And I will promise you, the U.S. Marshal's Office will inevitably catch every one of these guys. Again, this is our 5th drug trafficking organization that we've taken down in the last 24 months. And the U.S. Marshal's Office has just been absolutely amazing, and their ability to track down these guys even when they flee. I'll guarantee you there's people fleeing to Florida right now. I may go on that trip to help find those guys, but the rest of them, the marshals will take care of, okay? But again, thank you so much for coming. We really, really appreciate the support that we have gotten. And again, I will say this, I said this last time, if you're going to be in Richland County and you're going to sell drugs, we put you on notice last time that when we did our last sweep here, I believe we took 2 drug trafficking organizations down then, and we said if you remain in Richland County, you're going to be brought on this list. These were the people that I was speaking to. I promise you, I'll be back in front of you again in a few months, and there's going to be another group of people that we're already after. We've already started on our next operation. This is how dedicated the officers are, and the officers in the drug unit, and I really appreciate that. But again, thank you for coming today.
All right, I think that concludes the prepared remarks. Are there any questions from anybody?
Were there any significant people that were captured in terms of like the heads of the organizations or anything like that?
Yeah, so I referenced Mr. Westbury and Mr. Mott. I don't know the current status of those individuals and whether they were arrested. But when you look at the indictments and you see that they're the lead defendants, they are the people that we have alleged were the head of these individual conspiracies. So I don't know if anyone can, maybe we get that information to you afterwards as to whether or not they've been arrested.
Conducted safely, nobody hurt, no injuries on the side of law enforcement?
No, that's my understanding. Yeah, no injuries.
How difficult is it to keep an operation like this a surprise? There's a lot of people that you're looking for and a lot of agents out. You know, you'd think that when the first arrests start happening, somebody's going to start tipping people off. How do you keep it a surprise?
I'm going to turn that one over to the folks who got up early this morning to do that. So, Eric, you want to take that one?
With any investigation, obviously the element of surprise is key, particularly when you're doing a large-scale arrest like this. So when we conduct operations, we use a multitude of both traditional and sophisticated techniques. And the dedication of the folks that were involved in the operation understand that making sure that keeping the investigation quiet until the moment of the arrest is critical to the success of the mission. So that's a commitment that all the law enforcement officers have that are involved in this, so they understand that the criticality of that piece of it. So it's just sort of an unspoken idea that we have to make sure that, that we keep this under wraps until the moment is right to arrest.
And you said 43 captured out of 79 indicted?
43.
The others, do you think they're in the area? I know you're putting a call out for people who might know these folks.
So we believe that some of them still are in the area. As the chief said, there's likely some that are fleeing to warmer climes. We'll probably try to grab those folks as quickly as possible, but we believe that more will follow today. Some may turn themselves in, hopefully, peacefully, and we expect some additional arrests to follow.
What makes it attractive about this area? This seems to be a little more predominant than other communities.
I don't know if Mansfield area is any more predominant than anywhere else. Unfortunately, it's a scourge across the heartland and elsewhere in the United States. I think maybe the proximity to interstate traffic is one of the factors that contribute to a surge in that kind of activity here. But particularly, I think I'd like to just say thanks again to the dedication and the commitment of the chief and the local law enforcement here in Richland County to make this an effort and a priority, and of course the mayor and his support for these kinds of operations that tell folks that if you do it here, you're going to get caught.
What kind of a dent do you think you've made in the market? Is the average user going to have a harder time finding product today?
I think initially, yes. I think there will be a dent in the supply, but as the U.S. Attorney said, it's not going to stop the flow of drugs. I think as we've seen throughout the course of our investigations in previous locations, it's more effective when you can remove the leadership, the middle management, and the workers all at the same time. It's much harder to replicate your organization when you do that, and that's exactly why we targeted the individuals that we did.
There's a lot of females represented here. Does that surprise law enforcement, or is that just representative of how widespread these problems are?
It's a great question, and I think it shows how widespread they are. And I think we're seeing more of that across the organizations nationwide, where we're seeing a much more diverse group of folks that are dealing in illicit activities.